And I just, wow, that is like that. It was such a clear image in my head, and then just like when I read that, it gave me like shivers down my.
I can give you another image which is like very interesting. Also, there's again the first invasion in nowadays southern Slovakia. There was excavated a hut, a small dugout hut, where was 4 bodies. Three was father, most probably like adult man, adult woman, and a child. The child's head was in the middle of the hut dwelling. His body laid close to the entrance, and the father was missing, or man was missing a hand, and he was kind of like fallen in the entrance of the dugout hut, and the woman was thrown on him. So, and it all burned, fell on them, and looking Eastern type, very narrow spearhead.
Oh man, that is.
Yeah, so again, of course, no written sources, no one will write like, oh yeah, and Mongols killed there some family living in some dugout hut, some poor peasants. Yeah.
We get so used in the sources to this, the hyperbole, the sort of there's so much apocalyptic imagery in the written sources on the Mongols. You almost get sort of desensitized to you forget almost it's people. It's not people. It's just cities, buildings being destroyed, and then you see something like this you just described, and it's so personal, and it's just you have no idea, not a single detail about their lives, but you just know like those last few minutes must have just most terrifying, horrible sensation you could have imagined. Like and then in that moment you kind of understand this apocalyptic imagery that we get in so many other sources, because how many times was that story repeated across the breadth of Asia, right? How many unknown millions of people, was that, and the survivors coming through and finding this and knowing that this was their friends and neighbors and families, country people. It just, it must have felt like the apocalypse. It's terrifying.
Therefore, we can return to the Kumans. We can nicely switch back to the Kumans and Hungary. Therefore, the problem with settling the Kumans was solved. They were given the lands that were destroyed and depopulated by the Mongols. So the second coming of the Kumans and their settlement, actually we can see where the Mongol invasion hit the hardest. The central part, or the east of the Danube, where the Kumans then were free to roam and free to settle, because they didn't have so many neighbors.
It fixed the problem of interaction with the Hungarian peasants, because there wasn't any Hungarian peasants there anymore. It's there's an interesting detail in regards to that, where so many of the place names, like in that region, all have Kuman in the name, so you can sort of trace like exactly where they're now inhabiting. It's
also word Salash, which is very, very funny, because now in Slovak language it is something like the traditional shepherd's hut in the mountains, and it comes from the Kuman, the name of the Kuman encampments, because they were first. It wasn't like villages; they were called Salash, usually by the name of the owner and Salash.
It's the legacy of the Mongol invasions in these areas. These consequences get often just sort of forgotten, because the images are just towers of skulls, and it's here talking about what happened afterwards. Here's the demographic changes, the repopulation of the region, the linguistic effects. It's a huge effect on your Asia, and this was in a region where the Mongol presence was very limited, right? It's
but also I really love some individual stories, like when you take Sultan Baybars. He was the Mamluk Sultan. He was
Vale, va a hacer links ahora.
escaping from the
toca a mí, ¿quién me
Mongols
toca a mí?
when
¿Quién me
they
toca a
got to Bulgaria, where he was sold as a boy to slavery. To the Mamluk, who became like he was sold to the Mamluks. He rose up, became Sultan, founder of dynasty, the Kuman boy that was sold into slavery, and
Okay,
after defeating the
yeah.
Mongols at the Battle of Ain Jalut, like the whole circle.
Inmunidad.
You know, I think there's like specific references to like there being a glut of slaves on the market because of the Mongol invasion of the steppe, and not just in Egypt, but then in India as well. The Mamluk Sultanate of Delhi. There's many Kuman Kitrak slaves sold there. In Eastern Europe, there was. For quite a period of the late 13th century, most of many of the Bulgarian elites and the Tsars were like of
Ya, la
Kuman
sacaría, pero
descent.
con shock.
Already